If you eat every 3 hours and you're doing a half-hour cardio, you'd essentially be starting the cardio 2.5 hours after, if you eat 6 meals after meal. In my opinion, fasted cardio is the best cardio if you're looking for fat loss. In my opinion, people worry way too much about muscle loss. If you're supplementing properly for bodybuilding, muscle loss is far less of a worry than you think it's going to be. And then on top of that, the humans weren't, you look at the way humans were for thousands and thousands of years, the way humans ate food is we went out and we got up in the morning and we hunted for hours to get a source of meat, and we didn't die or we didn't starve to death. If we lost muscle from a simple walk in the morning without food in our stomach, we wouldn't have survived as a species. The goal with cardio for me is I want to get as lean as possible, as quickly as possible. So when anything I'm doing to burn fat, I want to optimally burn fat. I know that with the supplements I'm taking and the food I'm eating, that muscle loss isn't going to be a major issue. So I prefer fasted cardio always as my primary source of cardio when dieting. And as far as eating after, I'll eat right after I get off the treadmill. I mean, once the cardio's over, you put yourself in EPOC, elevated post-exercise oxygen consumption, and that's going to stay there whether you eat or not. So do your cardio fasted with the purpose of burning fat, and then when you're done with your cardio, eat your meal one with the purpose of getting your blood aminos back up so you can get to maintaining muscle.
You may have covered this. I got distracted with the dog. What if the fasted cardio, and if you did cover it, I apologize. What if the fasted cardio has to be done at night? Well, how many hours before?
Then I wouldn't do it. If I do it at night, I try to do it post-workout.
Okay.
Which is you're going to be about as glycogen depleted as possible. If I have to do it at night, I would do it so immediately before your last meal. So if you eat every 3 hours and you're doing a half-hour cardio, you'd essentially be starting the cardio 2.5 hours after, if you eat 6 meals after meal 5, and then immediately after finishing, you'd eat your last meal of the day.
So optimally, first thing in the morning.
Yeah, first cardio, first thing in the morning. If you need additional cardio, we'll try to do it post-workout. If you can't do it post-workout, we'll do it immediately before your last meal of the day.
All right. Now, if I was to flip that from a strength standpoint, forget the nutrition, but just the cardio from what we talked about before, that increasing your aerobic base, I like to see that done also first thing in the morning. Just for most guys, just to walk around the block really is going to be enough. Getting outside, getting the oxygen, getting that in there. I really don't like it post-training because you've just broken down all this muscle tissue. I'd rather have,
especially strength training, it tends to be a longer process.
I'd rather have it be like 6 hours, 12 hours, 20. I want that blood to come in to help it heal when it can actually heal.
Yeah.
Now, these are two different scenarios we're talking about. When we're talking about fat loss.
Actually, the blood coming in, that's a good thing I should have touched on. That is as far as recovery and stuff, the cardio. One of the best ways to heal a sore muscle or an injured muscle or is to bring as much blood into that muscle as possible without causing pain. When you cause, if your chest is sore or you injure your shoulder, if you can do, say your shoulder, if you can do any shoulder exercise that doesn't cause any pain, you're going to bring blood and nutrients into the area to help heal the damaged tissue. If it causes any pain, it'll cause inflammation, which will then swell up and block the blood flow from getting there. But that's one of the additional reasons why cardio is so good for recovery and so important for muscle growth and strength, is that you go out and walk in the morning, you're getting blood flow through the entire body. That's bringing all the nutrients to the damaged tissue, the damaged tendons, the damaged joints, and it really does help with recovery.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. It's one thing I'm still debating amongst myself if I want to post about is the last training block that I did, which is 100% pure strength, which very few people, outside of a handful of people, actually know that I did. But I ran into a lot of roadblocks with that because, and that's also why I took my weight all up. The biggest roadblock I ran into, and I needed Louis to help me out, because now I know why when he was 50, he was doing all these extra workouts. Mm-hmm. You know, because I would do my main workouts, but then I wasn't able to recover for the other ones. So then I went to my old standby extra workouts the day after, but then I was getting fucking plantar fasciitis, my forearms were getting beat up. The old stuff wasn't working, so I needed new stuff. It got to a point where with each main training session I was doing, 12 hours afterwards, the 12 to 24, somewhere in that way, depending on what time I trained, I needed to do a recovery session. light work, concentric only most of the time, sometimes just the assault bike. I never wanted a pump. I just wanted blood in the area. And as soon as it started to feel like it was moving, normal, you know, not cranky and stuff, I stopped. Yeah. And then on the days that I was training that muscle, if it was pressing, that morning I would come in and just do a couple exercises, really light pec decks, just to get the muscle moving and then stop. So I had feeder workouts and recovery workouts. And without those, there's no way I would have been able to make it through the phase without fucking destroying it.
Recovery workouts is something that I wanted to write an article, and I've kind of started probably 5 or 6 times over the years of talking about how the difference between a workout that breaks down the tissue, that you end up building the tissue back up bigger and stronger, which would be like a strength workout or a muscle building workout, and workouts that would be recovery workouts, which is basically what you're doing, which is a much lower intensity, much lower volume, you know, maybe no eccentric motion, all concentric, but it's a workout where you're specifically trying to bring blood into the muscle without bringing so much blood that you cause damage that would, you know, delayed onset muscle soreness type damage, which even if you don't feel the delayed onset muscle soreness, there's some level of it, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So below that threshold where you bring blood to the area, you don't cause any pain, so there's no inflammation, and that blood brings nutrients to the muscle, which helps heal the muscle, helps grow the muscle faster. But
that's an article that we should, you know, kind of get together and talk a little bit more about, because that's one of the questions I get asked more frequently than anything else is, you know, what's the difference between somebody who's training at 40 years old and somebody that's 20? It's really hard to answer, because if you started training when you were 35, it's really a training age and how fucked up are you question. So defining the person first is the issue. And that's why I've never, for those people that have asked me that question, that's why I've never been able to really answer it effectively, because, you know, how I would answer it to Justin or somebody that's been training for 20 years is totally different than somebody who's been in it for 5, because for a lot of people who get into these strength sports a little later, their peak years are 35 to 45.
my workout partner is in his mid-40s, and he didn't start till his late 30s.
Yeah, and he feels fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, meanwhile, we're walking around with a cane.
Yeah.
You know, so it's so much different. But I do think that a younger athlete, you know, their 20s, may not need some of that. That would be debatable. I don't know, because I don't know how well it's been studied. I didn't need them.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But would it have helped? I don't know. I mean, there's 2 sides. It could have just created more wear and tear, because anytime the joint moves, it's wear and tear. So it's very interesting. It's far beyond the scope of this conversation, but
no, it's actually something I've been using a lot. I was just recently dealing with a lot of muscle issues around my elbows. I couldn't even pinpoint. It wasn't like a tendonitis issue. It almost felt like there was a tennis ball somewhere in my joint that didn't let me bend my arm all the way or straighten it all the way. And that was basically how I ended up fixing it, was coming in, and I couldn't really train arms, but what I could do is after chest, I could do some really light sets of, I could find a certain push down where my hands were angled a certain way where it would cause no pain to the area, and I could bring a little blood to the area. And I would continuously do that throughout the week, and that's how I ended up healing the area.